my research proposal is the effectiveness of first grade addition facts to 12 using traditional and non-traditional strategies. The first one being using the traditional use of flashcards and comparing it to children who learn their addition facts to 12 using songs with the aid of flashcards, and if that has any difference of whether or not their proficiency increases. The reason I chose this topic was because we've been learning all about the new Common Core standards, and in first grade they go from, they're now supposed to know facts to 18, and next year they're supposed to learn facts to 20, and about 60% of our kids don't know facts to 12 now in first grade, in this particular first grade classroom that I work in. And so next year my goal is to have 2 groups randomly assigned so that the control group, or the group that I'm looking at would be the not the control group, the group that just uses flashcards, and the group that I'm trying to analyze, do they make more progress if we sing the facts, would be the non-traditional group. And so my question is, will they make more progress if we sing it, or if we just do the traditional flashcards? I'm going to do a post-test, and a pre-test and a post-test model, and then periodically every week give an additional assessment to see if they're actually making progress throughout the research. That is about it.
What will you be testing to see if there's a difference?
Will I be testing? I'll be testing their mastery of the facts
At the end?
at the end with using a post test. But then comparing the two groups, pre-test and post-test, and then comparing their rate of change throughout the entire time by the other assessments.
Okay. So one possibility would be to use gain scores, and gain scores would simply be the post-test score minus the pre-test score for each individual child. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's what we call the gain score. And then in the statistical test, you're comparing the gain scores of the kids who got flashcards to the gain scores of the kids who got flashcards and singing.
That makes sense.
Okay, good. And by the way, if any of you are planning to use the PowerPoint, it's no problem to just switch it back on and run it right off of Crystal's computer right here. You don't have to, it's just if you want. Okay, thank you, Emily.
It's in her desk.
What can you see as being an advantage of using gain scores as opposed to just using the post-test scores?
To see how much they've grown.
Yeah, because the problem is some kids may have started out a lot lower than other kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I was.
I just thought about that.
Can the video
Well,
see
you don't
both?
have to move the video camera.
Yes.
Ready?
Okay.
All right, so the title of my research plan is The Effectiveness of Home Reading Logs on Reading Achievement Scores. And at Social Circle Elementary School, it's actually just grades 3 through 5, and our kids at that school have a reading log, and they're encouraged to read at least 30 minutes every night, and they document it in their reading logs. And at the primary school where my daughter goes, I'm the one who has to keep up with it and make sure I'm reading with her every night and signing off. But at the elementary school with the older kids, they're responsible for signing off in it. So I'm really looking at, okay, we're doing this extra reading at home, is it really improving the reading achievement scores that we need? So my questions that I kind of wanted to be answered are, how effective are reading logs at promoting reading achievement? They are effective, then how can schools encourage parents to be more supportive? They're not effective, what are some other methods that can be used at home to promote reading achievement? And what's the difference in the reading achievement scores for students who keep a reading log versus ones who don't? What's the relationship between the two? And then how do parents and students feel about keeping a reading log? So, with that said, just some of the literature I found. One said that Cullinan specifically stated that amount of free reading done outside of school has consistently been found to relate to achievement in vocabulary, reading, comprehension, verbal fluency, and general information. And that's what I've always heard as well. Another article I found, they conducted a study to determine if the effects of time spent reading at school and at home increased reading achievement in grades 5 and 6. The results were both positive and disappointing. They said time spent reading in the classroom did impact reading achievement in a positive manner, but however that time spent reading at home, they just really didn't see a relationship there. And then finally, in one last article I found, these authors concluded that the amount of time a child spends reading books is related to the child's reading level in the 5th grade and growth in reading proficiency from the 2nd grade. So, my method, what I plan on doing is, I'm going to collect the reading logs from the entire 2011-2012 school year. Our teachers have to upload minutes into one of our T-drives, just saying how many minutes those kids read each month. They also have to upload their beginning, middle, and end of the year reading benchmark scores. So I'll collect those from this current school year and also collect the 2012 reading CRCT scores. And also at Social Circle Elementary School right now, we have UGA coming in to do an oral reading fluency study right now, and they're here for the next 5 years. And so I'm going to pull, and they're coming in and testing beginning, middle, and end of the year students. But, and so I plan to pull those oral reading fluency scores as well. I said that data will be gathered from at least 100 students in each grade, a minimum of 100 students in each grade. So we only have a little over 100 in each grade, so I'm hoping to get at least 100 in each grade. And then each of these reading achievement scores will be compared to each student's monthly reading minutes. I said a correlation coefficient will be used to determine whether and to what degree a relationship exists between the two variables of home reading log minutes and reading achievement scores. I plan on passing out a passive consent form to parents at the end of this school year to gain that consent for their students' reading log minutes and reading achievement scores. And then my principal we were sitting down talking about this the other day. She is actually sending out a survey to both students and parents, and she's asking a series of questions, but some of the questions in that survey relate to the reading log and reading achievement. Yeah, so she's actually going to give me all that data, and we'll sit down and look at those surveys together. And then I just said my data is going to be analyzed by comparing the average number of minutes of students reading to their 2011 reading benchmark scores, the reading CRCT scores, and the oral reading fluency scores for this school year. And this correlational research study will determine the degree of relation between home reading long minutes and reading achievement scores. And the results of the survey will also be calculated by determining how parents and students feel about keeping these reading logs. So just my references.
Questions? I've got a question for you. Did she use the word correlation right?
I'm gonna say yes.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
Yes, she did.
Good job.
Because
Sweet comment on
You're a
that.
correlator.
So would her research be correlated, whatever you said it was?
just the variables, the two variables
She's got
are,
a variable one and variable two
right.
from the same kids, essentially. What's one of the variables?
Reading time.
Reading time where?
At
At
home.
home. And the other one?
Reading time at school.
No,
Reading achievement.
Oh,
right.
a reading achievement score.
scores.
Right. Okay, and when she's done, if you get a high correlation, then she can go out there and tell the parents, if you will read with your students at home, they will have high test scores, because my research proved that, right? Now,
I better prove it.
this is something we'll study a little more later on, but correlation does not prove causation. It only indicates that both variables have a common influence. It can be that one variable is influencing the other. It can be a cause and effect relationship. We just don't know enough from a correlation study to say for sure that one is causing the other to happen. We'll go into more of that after we get done with all this messy summertime business and vacation business and all that stuff, right? Toes in the sand business, Sherry, right?
Toes in the sand, that's right.
Okay, I work inside a fourth grade classroom, and there's a regular teacher and myself, a special ed teacher, and we do small groups instruction. So some students have small group instruction while other groups are doing independent time, and they're doing work that's assigned by the teacher. And what we've been finding is that the students are not starting the assignments, or they're not finishing the assignments, or they're not getting as many assignments done. So I thought, my question is, will the tic-tac-toe differentiative instruction technique produce a difference in the number and quality of language arts assignments turned in to be graded? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a tic-tac-toe board up, and I'm going to have different types of assignments for the students to choose from. But some students, because of their learning styles or because of their academic skills, I might say you can only pick from the odd numbers on the tic-tac-toe, or the even. So I'm going to differentiate that way too. So they're not going to have a choice to pick from all 9, because I have students on so many different levels. So I might say for the kids with higher skills, you can pick from the even numbers only. Or I might have some where sometimes it might be you can pick from anyone. So that's how I'm going to differentiate that way too. And what I've gotten on the 3rd marking period, and I'll get the 4th marking period, are the multitask grades, where the name of the program, I forget, that we have for report cards, it takes all the grades and gives you the name of the assignment and then the grade. So I've collected them for the third marking period, and I'll collect them again for the fourth marking period. And why I'm doing it for 2 marking periods is because in the fourth marking period, we have so much testing with, and getting ready for testing that really we don't have that many regular good grades during the fourth marking period. So next year in August, we'll start with the differentiated assignments up. The class I work in right now is 4th grade, and I'm gonna be looping with the teacher and the students to 5th grade. So I'll have the same students. I think we're losing 2 students, and then we'll probably get a couple other students that are coming in. So right now she teaches 4th grade, and we're taking the majority of that classroom, and we're taking it right to 5th grade. So we can start day 1 with instruction too. And we'll see how this, I'll compare at the end of the first 9 weeks the multitask grades with the ones from the 3rd or the 4th marking period of this year. And the teacher I work with, she's getting her doctorate, and she's doing it on looping with special ed students. So we're doing a couple different things in that classroom.
So, since these are essentially the same kids, you'll be able to compare from one marking period without this differentiated assignment intervention and another marking period
With it.
with it. Okay. This will be between springtime for one period and fall for the next period.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Questions?
Any suggestions from you? Or?
No, I'm looking forward to learning more about it. I understand that the tic-tac-toe idea is to provide differentiation.
Right.
Right.
And then I'm going to provide even more differentiation by telling certain students that you can pick from this one.
Okay.
Are you comparing apples to oranges though, when you compare this term's grades versus when the expectations is higher?
Well, I'm hoping that the motivation kicks in, that they'll be excited about what they choose, and that maybe that if they have an assignment that they're excited about, that they'll start it and they'll finish it and they'll get a better grade.
So we're really looking at motivational factors more than
if they complete
grade-wise.
assignments.
Okay.
So, a lot of them are scoring minimum grades because they're not even doing that much independently.
One of the questions that I'll be looking to learn a little bit more about is whether you think the intervention is more devoted to teacher differentiation of instruction or differentiation of homework assignments or task assignments, or is the intervention more about student choice of assignments, or maybe is it a mix of those two? I'm not sure. So whatever it is, that is what you will want to really target with your literature review.
Okay.
If it's one, if it's the other, or if it's both.
Okay, so if it's choice or teacher,
Yeah.
okay, or student choice, motivation, okay. Thank you.
Okay, good.
I chose to look at the effects of stability balls on off-task behavior in the classroom. Let me just begin by explaining what a stability ball is. It's just like an exercise ball that many of you have likely seen in gyms or even at home. The only difference I would say that this ball would have is that it is specifically designed for use within the classroom. It has nubs on the bottom of the ball that will keep the balls from rolling all over the place, but will still provide the same experience that one might find if you were using it for exercise. So, as a teacher and a parent, I have witnessed and experienced off-task behavior, and I'm very concerned about that. Whether children are ADHD or not, it still creates a problem within the confines of the classroom that appear to be related to student achievement. So, as a teacher, I'm sure you all experience the same thing, doing whatever you can to provide students with interventions to improve improve off-task behavior. So, in my study, Castell and Jensen commented about how important attention is, but they said something, and this is a direct quote, that environments whose existence depends on learner attention, and it really, to me, we all know that, but how important that comment really is, because you can't learn if you're not, focused on what you're learning. If you're not hearing it or experiencing it, learning cannot occur. Hueck and Benson also stated, which is something I'm sure you've observed, that one disruption often leads to another disruption, which leads to another disruption within the classroom with students who struggle with off-task behavior, and before you know it, your entire class is affected by that one initial distraction. And Schilling, Washington, and Billingsley and Dietz stated that there's importance in sort of meeting the child at the door in regard to addressing the problem, not expecting the child to change, because as teachers we know that that may never happen. So we have to provide experiences that will be effective for the children. So my research questions are, will the use of stability balls improve off-task behavior while working in the classroom? And what will the attitude of parents of the students in my classroom be regarding the use of stability balls? Now, within the time that I've had an opportunity to look, these balls have been used in other classrooms, but I'm not familiar with anyone in Walton County using them. So I'm curious to see what the attitude of parents will be in regard to that. My plan is to choose 6 students. I would actually have loved to have chosen more, but there is a cost with this research study, so it's going to be, I'm going to have to figure out a way how to fund my research. And the observation that I'm going to do with these students also called for only a small sampling of students. So I will choose 6 students. My hope is to choose 3 students who have been formally diagnosed with ADHD and 3 students who have not been formally diagnosed. Whether they exhibit behavior or not, I won't be looking at that. I will just be looking at, of the children that I know have not been formally diagnosed, just 3 students. So my plan is to take the baseline data, allow children to sit in their student chairs. I'm going to wait until the 3rd week of school so that our routines and procedures have been, in plan. And then I will tally their off-task behavior 3 different times during the day through the use of a video camera. After that baseline period, I will introduce the balls. I'm going to give them a week of using the balls within the classroom to allow everyone within the classroom to become comfortable with them. I will then repeat the same observation with the video camera 3 different times during the day and tally the off-task behavior. After that 3-week period, I will then remove the balls. Students will go back to their chairs and repeat the same observation. Basically what I'll be looking at is the change in the off-task behavior decreasing during the time that students are on the balls as opposed to being off the balls while they are in the classroom. That's it. Oh, and I just have a quick, I just wanted to show y'all, I do have a quick video of the stability balls actually used.
Just click it on. So this is a whole class, isn't it?
Exercise balls. Another thing that we've seen is the productivity increase. Just because they're motivated to be at their seat, they're bouncing, they're focused, so they're completing their work.
I roll forward just like you.
At the end of the year, what we plan to do to assess how successful this program has been, we want to look at the PSSA scores to see if there has been an increase in their annual yearly progress. We also will look at the grades each marking period because we do want this to serve an educational purpose as well as a behavioral purpose.
I want you to compare words and contrast words. Can you remember from this?
It's interesting.
So when I presented this to my principal 2 years ago, wanting to do the whole class like this, and she was not as excited as I wanted her to be. And when I looked at the cost at that time for the whole class, it was really more than what I felt I could come up with. But then when I presented her with my research plan, she was really, had a different attitude. She was very excited about it. And I think it was because it was a little bit more detailed. But her concern was, and she's really good about this, is she did not want one classroom to be, to stand out from others.
Feel different
Yes.
somehow. Yeah.
How much do those balls cost then?
Well, they vary in price. The company that I chose to use is a teacher who experienced some of the, the same things that we all experience. She implemented a research study in her class, but she did more exercise related things, not just the stability balls. So she then stopped teaching, and now she owns a business called WhipFit. And she really, the balls are about $25 to $35 a piece, but when I looked at it 2 years ago, there was a $200 fee for training and, them coming and measuring the balls because they are measured to fit the students. But when I emailed her more recently and I explained to her what I was doing, she was, she really, I don't know if it's because maybe she's struggling with her business or she just wanted to help me out, but she reduced that $200 training fee to $75.
Wow.
So I'm hoping to do all of this for well under $500.
It probably would be, if any of you have plans like this, do some asking around about small grants and things that might be helpful, even from PTAs sometimes. Sometimes there's a department at the central office who might be able to help out with it, especially if they see that you're taking a research approach.
Well, I'm going to, my first avenue is to go through PTA, and then my next plan is to go to the local American Legion, to any local councilman, or businesses in the area. I think really what I need to do is find one person who as an adult struggled with attention as a child, and this will really touch them, and I'm hoping that's where the funding is going to come.
Sounds like a good plan.
Okay, so this is not part of my presentation. I'm sitting down now. Okay, is this a correlational study? I'm looking at,
No.
no, dang. I thought it would be because I would be looking at on-task behavior, off-task behavior and how it's affected by the use of the stability ball.
Remember, if it's correlation, we're going to have two different variables, and both of the variables